Welcome back to the Mind Over Movies game show! I'm your host, Casey Hubbard.
And I'm your host, Isaac Buda.
Today, we have a very special treat for you. We're going to start the show off with some trivia. And who better to answer than our own Isaac Udaj?
All right, wait.
Let's get into it. First question, Isaac.
Casey, wait, how does this work?
Soviet montage theory is an approach to understanding and creating cinema that relies heavily upon editing. It is the principal contribution of Soviet film theorists to global cinema, mainly by which Soviet filmmaker?
Casey, that's really hard. I don't know.
Your life depends on it, Isaac.
Soviet montage theory. Russian film. The battleship Potemkin. Shit. Who directed that?
You have 3 seconds, Isaac.
The Running Man.
Uh-oh. Looks like you have to go in the forever box. The correct answer was Sergei Eisenstein. Better luck next time.
Casey, wait. Please.
Join us next week to see if Isaac can escape before his oxygen runs out. Welcome back to Mind Over Movies. I'm Casey.
I'm Isaac, and luckily enough time has passed, 2 weeks, by my guesstimate, since I escaped the box of doom. I got to brush up on my trivia. I tell you what.
Yes, we are back from our hiatus. That's how I say hiatus.
It was a very short hiatus.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot happened. Casey got married.
Yeah.
I see that you changed your last name. Actually, the intro is no longer accurate. It's Casey Cox now.
Yeah.
I've heard. That's very exciting.
Last name Cox, first name Legend. You know.
It's just like in Friends when the Friends cast members got married and then they all changed their name to Cox. So in solidarity, I'm also Isaac Cox now. It's COX, by the way.
Yeah.
You little cheekies.
Oh my God. Well, what have you been up to movie-wise?
Movie-wise,
Yeah.
I was terrible. I procrastinated watching any movies. And by procrastinated, I mean just like the opportunity did not arise until the day before we recorded this podcast. I watched like 3 movies.
Really? In one day?
Well, here's what happened is I started one on Saturday morning, and then I started another one with someone else on Saturday night, and then those both became 2-parters. So I finished them both yesterday, but then also I watched one in between.
Dang.
It's probably the most disorganized film watching ever, but
Yeah.
I had a good time, so.
Well, I was also horrible. I was looking at what all I've logged on Letterboxd, and I log everything on Letterboxd. So the last film, like, we watched Zack Snyder's Justice League, and then after that, I have 4 things that are listed, and only one of them is a film that I haven't seen before. One's a mini-series, and the other 2 are Pixar movies that I rewatched.
Oh man! Well, what's the miniseries, if I might?
It's it's a little Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Oh,
I also started.
I mean, that's not even done yet.
Yeah, true. Speaking of miniseries, I also started watching a docu-series about QAnon. That's pretty interesting.
Oh, Into the Storm?
Yeah.
I've been meaning to watch that. Every time I go on HBO Max, I see that. I've been watching The Sopranos on there. I finished season 1 since we last did our podcast, so I've been meaning to watch some other stuff that HBO has to offer.
Well, they've got a huge documentary selection that I've been kind of like picking through and seeing what I want to watch, and the Into the Storm is a newer one on there, and it looked interesting, and it is very informational, very informative.
Yeah, I hear that they have like a theory, like a pretty grounded theory about who started the QAnon.
Oh, really? I'm not.
Craze,
I guess I'm not
yeah.
there yet. I'm only on episode 2, but.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, it just ended or something. My bad. I didn't mean to spoil anything. You're fine.
Oh no,
my
you didn't.
Roommate
spoil
Blake's been watching it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I figured they would have a theory, like about like at the end of the show, maybe they have a theory. But right now, I'm just like, since it's only episode 2, they're just talking about like what Ollie's doing, like, or like, basically catching everybody up to speed, I guess. But it's super interesting, crazy. If y'all don't know anything about QAnon, then just watch the Q Into the Storm on HBO Max. Honestly, I knew nothing about it, and now I understand it completely because the documentary does a really good job of going through basically the events that led up to what, the massive following that this conspiracy kind of thing has. I don't know, but yeah, and
Wow,
pretty cool.
I think I'll definitely be checking it out. I do want to follow up on that first series you threw out there, though. I'm all caught up on Falcon and Winter Soldier now, too.
Yeah,
and
I caught up last night.
I guess this is our spoiler-free discussion right now. We'll probably do another one of those longer-form videos when it finishes its run. But what do you think so far? Just like
I
thoughts.
am honestly, after this 3rd episode, I'm a little unsure. Originally, I thought it. Excuse me. I thought it was pretty good, and then I was liking it better than WandaVision. I thought the story was a little bit more cohesive, and it was tighter than the WandaVision story. WandaVision had too many eggs in its basket. I remember that's kind of what me and you kind of essentially boiled it down to when it came to like the end of its the last couple episodes. It was just too many eggs in one basket. Got too big for its what it started out as. With Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
I think, like, definitely very Marvel-fied by the end of it. Like the start of it was something super fresh, and then by the end it was like, oh, this is the MCU. There's no mistaking it.
Yeah. And I thought Falcon and the Winter Soldier was going to be different in that when the first episode aired, it was super grounded, exploring the characters. But with the 2nd and 3rd episode, just the writing, to me, is just getting weirder and weirder. Like, the choices they're making with the plot lines, it doesn't make any, especially in the 3rd episode. No spoilers, but the 3rd episode has a whole storyline that absolutely makes no freaking sense to me. Like, it would not happen. Like, it just would not happen with these characters. And another thing that really bugs me about the show is the directing. I think it is awfully directed. Like, the camera angles are annoying. It is trying to be something it is not, and it bugs me like every time. Like, the editing and the camera work, they suck in this show. It's the worst the MCU has ever had. I will say that right now. I do not care. I hate it.
I will say this is, between this and WandaVision, this feels like it's on a TV budget. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't notice myself thinking that too much during WandaVision, but like, this definitely looks like it was made for the small screen, and not in like a complimentary way. Like, it just has TV show effects now. Versus like the usual higher standard we're used to with the mainstream Marvel movies. And I think like the Russo brothers definitely got this like actiony thriller directing style down for like the mainline movies. Like Winter Soldier, the movie, is one of the best in all of the MCU. I even really like Civil War. I think that's a very entertaining movie. I think what's going on here is that they're trying to replicate the Russo brothers style, which is weird because the Russo brothers did start out on TV, so you would think it would be, pretty conducive to this television show to copy them. But it's not working, really. And I think that the only moments of direction that I'm really appreciating were in this last episode, because the director of John Wick came on and directed this episode. And I don't know what you think about, the action, because you haven't really delved into that yet, but I think that is pretty stellar now. Or at least in this last episode, I was really feeling it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is pretty gritty for a Marvel show, and I like that aspect of it.
I 100% agree with the grittiness, and the action is good. And even some of the slower moments, like for example the when they I don't want to spoil anything, but you're going to know what I'm talking about if I speak in code. In the second episode, they go to see a certain character towards the end of the episode.
Yeah. And
it's this big reveal. And that is really just like, I'm very surprised that Marvel went there, Like they've usually they're so quick to pander to the Chinese box office and meet their requests and stuff, and but with this show, it's very political, and I'm liking how political and how gritty it is in its politics, and how just unashamed they are to show that America would do, or the world, pretty much the world would do shitty things after a major event like Thanos' snap, like the global I don't know. I remember what it's called. It's the agency that basically puts people back in their like home countries. Like like after the blimp. I can't remember what they're called, but I was like, oh my god, that's genius. Like that absolutely would happen. There's no denying it. So they're really good at seeing stuff like that. But I don't know, the writing of the superhero stuff is just not what I'm liking.
I will say also on the political front, this is something that's always been very frustrating with Marvel movies, is that they will often put a very intriguing ideology into their villain, and it's one that often the audiences can agree that it makes sense. But then, because the movie has to have its villain be, a villain, they'll often take very cheap story twists to make you disagree with that villain, even though their plan is something that you might agree with. Like, I would say Killmonger in Black Panther was a great example of that, where, like, everything that dude's saying kind of makes sense to me, but then the movie has to vilify him. He has to do something like dastardly, even though it doesn't seem to agree with everything else he's been saying. It's just kind of like a 180. And I feel like this show is doing that with a faction. And oh my God, it's so hard to not talk spoilers. And it's very tempting to, because this is like a mid-season finale. What we just saw, this is only going to be 6 episodes.
I mean, hey, we can talk about spoilers if we want to put a disclaimer.
No. You know what? I'll keep it vague.
Okay.
I'm just going to say at the end of episode 3, there's a very cheap story turn to make you root against people that I honestly, up to that point in the series, thought made sense. Like their ideology and their views. Yeah. And it's just like... And the story reasoning is very flimsy. There's just like one line of dialogue that's like, well, we have to do that because we're like the bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I kind of was like, what?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm interested to see where it goes, but I feel you when you say like the stories aren't really panning out, like they're making sense. And I especially think that I'm a little disappointed with the chemistry between the leads. It feels like Marvel has regressed into like quipping like every few seconds, and like when they're on screen together, it doesn't seem like you get those very serious character moments anymore. It's just all quips. But when they're on their own, I think these are very intriguing characters, and the show has fun with their backstories and exploring what their motivations are. It's just like, if for a show that's premise is like these people are supposed to be together and supposed to be a team, like it is weird to see that like none of that dynamic is explored, and it's just substituted for like constant jokes.
I was gonna say, for a show that's premise is banking on the fact that you like these two characters together, I find that when the characters are separated from each other, they get a lot more valuable screen time. You know, like the screen time is used wisely, and I like their characters separately. But when they're together, you know, I don't know. And I don't even know. Shut up, computer. I don't even know, like, why Bucky and Sam, like, don't like each other in the first place. Like I know the Winter Soldier and Civil War, they had, like, a little rivalry or whatever. But, like, I don't know. It just seems like a forced relationship by Marvel, you know? And just so they can... And it shows. It really does, because... their chemistry is not the best chemistry. Like, they have chemistry on screen a little bit, but it's not the best chemistry I've ever seen. I think Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen had way better chemistry than these two. Than these two do, and that's just insane to me.
I would have never thought like, oh yeah, Vision and Wanda are gonna be my favorite on-screen set of characters in a year, when they were like some of the least developed Marvel characters up until this point.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that, you know, you and I have talked about, is going into the series, I was really hoping that Bucky was going to get a lot of development. And so far, I mean, yeah, he is getting development. It just feels like anytime Sam Wilson is with him, that development stops. And it's the same for Sam.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see him in more stuff too.
Like, they started his development in episode 1, and then I feel like it's been halted so far with Sam and Bucky.
Yeah. And also, I think it's fair to say that one of the subplots is a lot more interesting and attention-grabbing than the other. It's weird right now that we're focusing so much on the one that, you know, the audience doesn't care about as much. You know, like, I'm not saying you have to give the audience what they want, and I'm sure we're building to something. It's just right now, you know, trusting in the process is definitely my main mindset, and it's not necessarily fully enjoying what is going on. But yeah, a cryptid discussion of Falcon and Winter Soldier. I have been watching another show, though, another superhero show that just started that I'm really, really enjoying, and I wonder if you've heard anything about it. Have you heard about Invincible?
No.
Okay, it is a Amazon Prime original, and it's based on a comic by Robert Kirkman, who is the creator of The Walking Dead.
Right.
And this is a very interesting superhero show. I don't want to spoil too much about it, because it's got one of these like crazy first episodes where something monumental like changes, you know, and that in itself might even be too much of a spoiler, but like it's very reminiscent of like The Boys to me.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. It's animated, isn't it?
Yeah, it's animated, and it's got a fucking killer cast. Like, Stephen Young is the main character, Invincible. His dad is J.K. Simmons. His mom is Sandra Oh. Yeah, like all of the side characters too are famous people. Wow. Like, if you look it up.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's in there too. Yeah.
Yes, Mark Hamill shows up. Seth Rogen shows up.
Oh, yeah, I gotta watch it, dude.
Yeah, I'm even like maybe wanting to have this conversation about it later. but it's doing this cool thing that The Boys season 2 did, which it released its first 3 episodes when it launched, and then now they're doing weekly episodes. So we're on episode 4 now out of like 8 for the season.
Nice.
Sorry, I feel like I cut you off.
No, you cut out for a second on Discord, but you came back in, so I got confused.
Oh, dope.
But yeah, I need to watch The Boys and the Invincible. I still haven't.
I feel like you would really
The
like The Boys too. Yeah. Season 1 of The Boys especially is really good, and I mean season 2 is good too. It's just like they're clearly setting up stuff now.
Oh, right.
In fact, I feel like that's a big problem with a lot of shows, especially superhero shows, is the first season they take a lot of risks because they're like, oh, I don't know if we're going to get renewed or not. Mm-hmm. And then they deliver this like exemplary first season, and of course they're renewed. And I feel like it gives them pause to like take as many risks in a lot of shows' second seasons, you know, like I especially thought this with The Flash on the CW. Like, it seemed like season 2 repeated a lot of old territory. And season 2 of The Boys, definitely no spoilers here, but like it just felt like not as much happened, and it was a lot of setup to like what will hopefully be a more interesting season 3. Mm-hmm. And I'm not into that. Like, I think that each season should have, you know, its own arc that feels like it wraps up satisfactorily, you know, like can we get like movie level quality storytelling in each season of a show? You don't get to just relax because you had a really good season. I don't know.
I agree. I feel like Breaking Bad did that the best, you know? Like I can clearly define the line between seasons 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of that show, because they all had their own storyline, like their own arc, but within one giant storyline. And
even season 5, they split it up. Like, where half of season 5 aired, and then it came back the next year. And there's even distinct story arcs that wrap up in that first section. And it's so great. Like, you never leave that show feeling like, well, maybe it'll be better next year. You know, you always think like, how are they going to top this? Where does it go from here?
There's a reason that show is like revered as one of the greatest television shows ever made. It's because it does everything possible correctly. Like, it just does it all right, you know? Mm-hmm. And more shows need to be like that. And I really want to watch The Boys, and I really want to watch Invincible now, so thanks. I got more stuff to binge.
Just tune into Invincible. I feel like we could have a really long discussion about that show, too. Mm-hmm. Just even after its first episode, I'm curious of what your thoughts will be. Don't look anything up.
I won't. I'll go in blind. Oh.
Okay. Dope.
But speaking of animated TV shows, Solar Opposites Season 2 came out, and I binge watched that in like 2 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's out on Hulu right now, and it's really good.
Is it better than season 1, would you say?
I think they're about the same. I think I like season 1 a little bit better. But like season 2 seems to be the chaos level, you know, for season 1 was like 50%. Season 2 it's like 150%. Like crazy shit happens like in every episode that it's like, what is going on? But it's really funny. And The Wall is back. That storyline is back, and
that's cool. Yeah, that was definitely my favorite part of the first season.
Definitely, and they're renewed for a season 3, and they're working on season 3 right now. They said, and I watched season 2. We were kind of talking about build up. The Wall in season 2 kind of feels like a build up. It has its own arc, its own story, but at the end, it's a big cliffhanger at the end, and it's setting up some things that are going to happen in the next few seasons. And there's an interview with like Dan or Justin Roiland and Can't remember the other creator's name, but
I think Rick McCallum or something like that.
something like that.
I might really be out of pocket.
I don't think it's that one, but either way, they were talking about what they want to do for Thomas Middleditch. That's the other creator,
No, Mike McMahon.
Mike McMahon. I don't know.
Spelled McMahon.
Yeah, I don't know how you would say that.
That's a hard name.
But yeah, anyway, they said in the next couple seasons they have like really big things planned for the wall, and it might not go the way you think it'll go, but they think that they've got a pretty good story for it panned out. And the wall stuff in season 2 was really good, like really really good, and the alien stuff in season 2 with the actual solar opposites, it's they poke fun of Hulu a lot, and they poke fun of other sitcoms and movies, kind of like how Rick and Morty likes to parody stuff sometimes. They also do that, and season 2 feels a little bit darker because like the aliens, their humor is darker, and there's like I want like no spoilers, but the premise for one of the episodes is they're all four trying to kill each other to fulfill themselves. Like they're gonna kill the replicants, and I don't know. It's just really freaking crazy, but it's really good. I liked it. I think you should definitely watch it. Yeah, it's about as good as season 1, I think. So
I'll catch up on that soon. I don't think I'll end up binging it, but I'll work on it in the coming weeks. I did notice it dropped, and then I kind of forgot that it had dropped. So I need to get around to it. Speaking of Justin Roiland, though, did you see Rick and Morty's coming back this June?
I did. Was it June 5th? I'm hype.
Yeah, very soon. Which I feel like this has got to be the quickest turnaround for that show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And I'm glad for it too. I don't know what they did other than like split up the seasons to like come out like 6 months after each other or what, like if that helped with season 4, but if it means that we get Rick and Morty content that's spread out but more frequently, like I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down. They I was reading an article about like where they are with the show, and like if they're like behind or anything, and Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon both were like we're like way ahead of schedule. Like even the pandemic somehow sped up their process, and they're to the point
they had a lot of time to work.
That's true. Apparently they're already writing episodes for season 7. Season 6, they're already working on season 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's
like,
incredible.
Yeah. That's how far ahead they are. So I'm very confident we're going to get episodes at a way faster pace now.
Well, I do hope though that the quality stays high.
Yeah.
I think a classic example of like a show that started putting out more but it was like lower quality was Black Mirror. Like they started doing that every year, and that definitely took a dip. Like after season 3, I think, season 4 was like half shitty Black Mirror episodes, half kind of good ones, and then I would argue season 5 was mostly really forgettable. Like I don't know what happened there. Do you watch Black Mirror?
I'm trying to watch it all. I've only watched a handful of episodes, and I gotta say I don't really like Black Mirror. My favorite episode is the Star Trek one, the USS Callister. That's my favorite.
Okay, that's a rare, really good one from season 4. I like that one a lot. I really love that show. It's one of my favorites, but it's definitely gone downhill a lot in recent years. I think that seasons 1 through 3 though are really solid, and like you can watch those, and pretty much any episode from those 3 seasons is going to be a pretty good one. I think there's like a couple of exceptions, but oh well. But anyway, yeah, with Rick and Morty, I just really hope that even though they're making a lot more episodes, they stay really good, because that's always been something about the show I've admired, is that they wait until they have good ideas before they release it. You know, they're perfectionists. Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. That's what makes the show so good, is that they refuse to put out anything less than what their standards are, and their standards are pretty damn high. It's actually kind of insane. I don't know. This is crazy, but yeah, I'm excited. I love it too. I am very excited. I not afraid. I'm a huge Rick and Morty fan. I hate saying
You're not
that.
afraid to say it?
Well, I am afraid to say it a little bit, but it makes me mad that I'm afraid to say it. But I am. I freaking love that show. Yeah.
I love it so much too. I definitely do feel a tinge of like embarrassment, or like, you know, I don't say it as openly as I might for other shows, you know.
Yeah.
I definitely want to make sure I'm around like a fan, but even then, not even a fan, like because there's just so many annoying and toxic people in that fan base. It's just really hard to want to say you're a part of it, you know, because the collective fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I kind of weird relationship with the fan base, but definitely love the show.
Yeah.
Speaking of like HBO Max exclusive streaming shows like Rick and Morty, have you seen Godzilla vs. Kong yet?
I have not. I'm waiting till a time where I can go watch it in the theater. With Donna, we really wanted to see it, but we haven't. She's been in Fort Smith. I went to Marshall for Easter weekend and stuff. But who knows? We might go see it tonight. I did, however, I sneaked a little peek. I got bored the other night, and I went on HBO Max and I watched a little snippet of one of the fights, and let me say, I'm very impressed with what I saw. Way better than the other Godzilla movies we've been getting, with just camera work wise and the fight sequences, like fighting wise, you know, the good old classic kaiju monster fighting. From what I saw and what I'm hearing, Godzilla vs. Kong is probably the best out of the MonsterVerse like saga so far. But what did you actually saw it? So what did you think about it?
Well, yeah, I watched it mainly because I thought you already watched it on like Friday night. My bad.
Oh no, you're good.
I kind of like tried to make sure I got it in too before this episode. My bad. But I have to vehemently disagree. I think when you watch the movie, you'll understand why it's not that great. I think that it is about on par with. No, it's not on par with. I think this is much better than Godzilla King of Monsters, which is like an absolute mess of a movie. I really don't like that movie at all. But I'm surprised to be looking back on the Gareth Edwards, like 2014 Godzilla movie, with like almost fondness now, and kind of like a why is it no longer like that mentality?
Yeah,
because. You know, that movie had really shitty, like, human characters and everything. Like, every problem that I have with these newer ones. But there was something about the way they filmed the monsters in that original Godzilla movie, and just, like, the payoff of the ending that felt so satisfying that I notice I don't really get with these newer movies. And then, like, let me also say that Godzilla vs. Kong has probably got the worst human character aspects yet. Like, it was bad in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and there's probably more screen time devoted to it there, but somehow they've managed to make it even more grating to watch any of these on-screen human characters go around and do anything.
bro.
Like, I mean, Millie Bobby Brown, anytime she's on screen and her, like, fellow characters, I wanted it to end. I just, I pretty much, you can check your phone the whole time that they're on screen. You won't miss anything except, like, really cringy jokes and just, I don't know, man. I was really actually kind of let down by Godzilla vs. Kong because I've been told that it was, like, decent. And I will say the fight scenes, when they happen, are pretty entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are well filmed. I think Adam Wingard, I don't know if he's even responsible for that. I mean, they may have just hired Adam Wingard because, you know, when it comes to the human scenes, they just put, like, 3 characters on a neon light, like, backdrop and, like, film some really shitty jokes, and then CG artists do everything else in the movie. Like, this is a movie filled with, like, really cool CG visuals. Like, I think from a visual effects aspect, this is a groundbreaking, like, amazing movie. I just wish that we had that more in the spotlight and not all this boring, like, subplot shit. And also, I don't know. I'm just kind of sick of the MonsterVerse. We've given it 4 films, and it hasn't really been all that great. Like, can we just stop?
Yeah. That's weird that you say that. I heard that the human subplots are actually bearable this go around. But from what you're saying, it sounds like they're just as bad. And I recently went back and rewatched a little bit of Godzilla, a little bit of Kong Skull Island, and a very little bit of King of the Monsters. And King of the Monsters' human subplot is actually probably the worst shit I've ever seen in my life. Like, acting-wise, writing-wise, plot point-wise, like, I just remembered how much bullshit is in that movie. And you're talking, this is a movie about, you got Rodon, you got King Ghidorah, you got Mothra, and a bunch of other, like, monsters that make their appearance in this movie, and yet you want to focus on Vera Farmiga screaming at Millie Bobby Brown and having parenting issues. Like, that is so boring, and it makes me want to scream. Like, ugh. Anyway, but after reviewing Kong Skull Island, I can say that at least the human moments in Kong were probably the best out of the entire MonsterVerse. You know, at least that I've seen. Because Kong Skull Island is actually, you know, I'm going to put forth the hypothesis, it's a pretty damn good blockbuster movie. It gives us pretty much everything you want. Like, Kong's on screen for a lot of that movie. And if it's not Kong, it's some other, like, cryptid, like, dinosaur that they're fighting, like, on the island, and it's very, very entertaining. You know, there's only really one dead spot in that entire movie, and it only lasts for like 20 minutes, and it's towards the end, where they're like building the boat, the raft, and they're gonna leave, and then Kong comes back, and there's a huge like final fight and everything. But I don't know.
I never saw it. I really never saw Kong Skull Island, and nothing about this movie's release made me want to go and watch it. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like I missed much. And coming out of this movie, I've got to say, it doesn't feel like the events of previous movies matter, yet they do matter. Like, there's a lot of stuff set up in Godzilla King of the Monsters that honestly is just explained away with a couple lines of dialogue in this movie. Like, this is crazy, but it's a element of the movie that a lot of people are going to miss because it's brushed off right in the beginning. But Godzilla has gone around and murdered every monster featured in Godzilla King of the Monsters because he wants to be the apex. Like, even Mothra is dead now, apparently. Like, they just say that at the start of the movie. Like, oh, Godzilla killed all of the other titans, so we're good now. It just happens off screen.
What the what?
And then also off screen, a storm has gone to Skull Island and killed everyone there except this one little girl from there. So Kong's not even on Skull Island anymore because off screen a terrible disaster happened to Skull Island in between movies. And that's also very weird. And also in between movies, Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister, who is like very prominently featured in Godzilla King of the Monsters, and even in like the post-credit scene, they're teasing him, you know, screwing around with Ghidorah's head. He's been replaced off screen with a very bland business guy. Like there's a evil business guy subplot in this movie, which is so meaningless that like even when that subplot comes to an end, it just kind of like is in the snap moment and it doesn't matter. It's just to set up like one thing. Like I honestly think this movie could have been a death battle style video where you just have like you know, stats about Godzilla and King Kong, and then throw them into a simulated fight, and then one of them wins, and CG artists do the whole movie, and there's no human aspect. I think that would have been an infinitely more entertaining movie. But like for some reason, we got to treat it like porn. You know, you got to have a plot to like get you invested in in the action, and it's never a very good plot. You know, it's just like it's just set up for the interesting tidbits. The monkey lizard porn, if you will.
Oh no. Well, I'm a little disheartened, but I'm still gonna go watch it in the theater.
You should. Might I recommend though a really good Godzilla movie to maybe even compare Godzilla versus Kong to. Have you heard of Shin Godzilla?
I have. I haven't watched it though.
Yeah, this was the only Japanese Godzilla movie that's come out in the last decade, and even that, it was like a 12-year gap between the last Japanese released Godzilla movie and that one. So
yeah,
it's kind of a soft reboot for the franchise, but I watched it because I really love the director Hideaki Anno, who does Neon Genesis Evangelion, which has got to be like one of the greatest animes of all time, and he's just also a brilliant director. And it is so good. Basically, Godzilla attacks Japan like he did in the original Godzilla movie, and most of the movie is centered actually on like the government's response and just like all these different like bureaucratic decisions that have to be made when dealing with a disaster, except now it's a giant fucking monster, and it's interesting as hell, and it's really brutal on like not only the Japanese government, which is kind of infamous for being a bit static when deciding things, but also on like the US, you know, all these countries that put so much foreign pressure on Japan and exploit that country. You know, like there's like so many scenes of this movie that are devoted to like the Japanese officials trying to get something done and the US coming in and saying that they're just going to take it from there and making the situation worse somehow, which like we're known to do across the world. And it's just so crazy to see a movie, you know, in Japanese with like English subtitles, where suddenly like an American guy is like on screen talking in English, and like the Japanese people are having to talk in English to him, and it's like, whoa, can't believe that's going on right now.
That's interesting. I need to watch that. I really want to.
It's on YouTube and Amazon, but you can only do the English dub, which I think is really terrible. I don't really like watching foreign movies with the dub. So what I did is I rented it, but then I went to a website where it was in Japanese with English subtitles. So there was no moral qualm there. I spent the money to support the movie, and then I watched a torrent of it with the version I like. You know?
Yeah. Well, dang, I'll have to check it out then.
It's so good, and it really makes me think like America should stop trying to do Godzilla. You know, it's just so rooted in Japanese politics and their response to like being nuked that it's futile. Like the country that did the nuking is stealing that character from them. It's almost like cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really, but like it's just kind of tone deaf when we try and do Godzilla.
Yeah.
And, I mean, with the movies that have been released, I can't say that we've done it all that well, you know?
Yeah. I
Other
agree.
than Matthew Broderick's Godzilla. That one was pretty great.
Oh,
That's
God.
probably the best movie of all time, to be honest.
You know, I remember watching that movie a lot when I was younger, thinking it was amazing.
Me too. I looked at like one shot from that movie the other day, and I like, ugh. CG in the 90s should not have happened.
Yeah. Was it the mini Godzilla cracking out of the egg at the end?
Oh yeah, that's pretty gross. But just Godzilla's design in general is really awful in that movie. It looks so ugly.
Why his snout look like that though? It's so...
It looks like they wanted him to be like the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
And not really like Godzilla, you know?
Yeah. It's a disgusting design. But yeah. I watched, speaking of monster movies, let me tell you about a feminist film I saw.
Ooh, please.
Segues very well, I guess. Not really.
Yeah.
But, no, I watched this film and I think it's like so amazing. I fell in love with it. It's called Desperately Seeking Susan. Have you heard of this film?
Oh, I've heard about this, but I haven't seen it, and I'm not fresh on the story details.
It's got Madonna in it.
And this is the 80s movie. Yeah.
I think it's like late 80s or early 90s.
Okay, I only know about this because it's in the documentary Three Identical Strangers. Like the three identical strangers are in it.
Yes. And I forgot that this was the movie that one of the movies that they had a cameo in. Yeah, it was 1985. Yeah. And when I saw him there, I was like, "Oh, holy crap! It's them! It's them!" And that's my favorite documentary of all time. Is the Three Identical
I think I
Strangers.
watched that in our hiatus, and I really loved that. I don't know if I mentioned that on our last podcast, but that's a really great documentary.
Yeah, anyway, dude, it's crazy.
Speaking of insanely dark things, was Desperately Seeking Susan?
No, but it's really. It's about this girl, her name is Roberta, right? And then Madonna's character is Susan. And Susan is having she's in a relationship with this guy. And they put ads in the newspaper in the personal sections. And it'll say, Desperately Seeking Susan. And then he'll say, or he or she... whichever one is putting in the personalized ad will put a location of where to meet up. And then they both read the newspaper and then they go and meet up and they have a date, basically. They meet up to hook up or to go on a date. And it's because the guy's in a band that travels around and she's a drifter. So they have to put these ads in the newspaper every time they're back in town to meet up with each other. And Roberta is this housewife who has a horrible husband. His name is Gary. He's a piece of shit. And she is really bored all the time. So she decides to go to one of these meetup places to see them meet up. And then accidentally gets caught. She bumps her head and loses her memory and thinks that she is Susan. In a roundabout way. She ends up with Susan's jacket. She ends up... meeting a guy that was supposed to meet Susan, and then she thinks her name is Susan. And so the whole movie, they both run around, do the run around trying to find each other. And you really need to watch it. I can't do it justice just talking about it because it sounds ridiculous when I say it. But the Madonna's acting is really good. The chemistry between all the characters pretty much is really good. It's really funny. And the writing is super sharp, and I don't know. I just really, really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. It's one of my new favorites.
Whoa, okay, yeah. Man, that 5-star. You're just sitting on that.
I'm just sitting on that, man.
Talk about Godzilla versus Kong for fucking 30 minutes, and you just had a 5-star movie.
Yeah.
God damn.
Soundtrack slaps as well. It's got Madonna music. It's good.
I do love Madonna. I'll check that out. I mean, especially just from
Yeah.
seeing with the triplets in it.
Oh yeah, yeah. That scene's so weird. Kind of like it just randomly happens, and I was like, wait a minute, I know them.
I mean, in the
But-
documentary, they talk about that. They're like, we were just on the street and they were filming a movie, and then they were like, oh my God, you're the triplets. Can we film you? Put you in our movie? And then they were in the movie.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it works kind of with just how weird the movie is. Like the characters in the movie are all like, you know, they're kind of like they're almost caricatures, but they're not, you know, they are real characters with, you know, good like character arcs and stuff and like personalities, but like just the movie, it's just there's some really weird characters in there, and they just kind of fit, you know, they're a little cameo. It kind of fits if you look at the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
I'll be seeing that. What did you see anything else?
Nah. I rewatched A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2 and Monsters Inc. With Donna.
All
a few nights ago,
considered
and-
golden
and
age,
we-
except Bug's Life. You know, it doesn't usually get much love.
You know, and I don't understand why it doesn't get much love, because it's one of my favorites. And rewatching it, you know, I can't really say there's any huge problems or flaws with it. I think it's like, you know, I mean, it's Pixar's second film they ever did, and it came out right after Ants because, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but Jeffrey Katzenberg used to work at Pixar, or with John Lasseter, and when he created DreamWorks.
No, he was Disney's
or Disney,
president.
yeah.
He's like in the role that Bob Iger.
Oh,
was in.
never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not thinking of Jeffrey Katzenberg. I'm thinking of somebody different. Did Jeffrey
Yeah.
Katzenberg leave and go to DreamWorks? Was that his name?
Yeah, he did. That was
Okay,
Jeffrey
yeah.
Katzenberg. I just wanted to clarify that he wasn't a Pixar guy. He was a Disney
Yeah,
guy.
he was
and he
Disney
was
guy.
initially there when Disney acquired Pixar, but he left during the development of A Bug's Life. Like, you know,
Yeah.
at that point, like that idea was definitely out there, and he started DreamWorks and pumped out
Ants.
Prince
yeah.
of Egypt and Ants, and
Yeah.
that's the controversy, is like they're very similar sounding ideas, but definitely very distinct movies. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised to say this, I think I like Ants a little bit more than I like A Bug's Life.
Really?
Yeah.
Personally, Bug's Life is just way better to me, honestly. I mean, I can see the appeal of Ants. Like, I used to watch Ants a lot. It's a pretty good animated movie. But A Bug's Life, to me, is just leagues ahead.
I think that A Bug's Life is kind of one of those lower tier Pixar movies. Like, I can definitely see why they thought they needed to course correct after it and like make Toy Story 2 the way it was, which Toy Story 2's development is like a whole
God.
crazy story too. Like they
Yeah.
accidentally deleted
Yeah.
the movie
They
at one
only
point.
did 90% of Toy Story 2.
And also, that was one that John Lasseter left. You know, he was like, you guys go do Toy Story 2. I'm going to go work on other things. And then when he checked back in, he wasn't really pleased with the direction Toy Story 2 was going, and like completely scrapped that script and wrote it all over again. All the while, they were trying to meet like a very strict deadline on releasing that movie. And that's just crazy. That Toy Story 2 is as good as it is, like arguably the best of the trilogy or quadrilogy,
Yeah.
and it's the one that faced the most trouble. Like, goddamn.
Yeah. Hey, Isaac, you know, pressure makes the diamonds, you know? I would really like to dive into all the Pixar movies and, like, actually, like, since me and Donna are, like, rewatching them right now, like, we're kind of, like, going in order. We skipped the first Toy Story because we've seen Toy Story 1 a million times. There's really nothing new we can catch in Toy Story. But we hadn't seen A Bug's Life and Toy Story 2 in quite a while, so we watched A Bug's Life, then Toy Story 2, and then I think we're like halfway through Monsters Inc. right now, and that's my favorite one of all time. And I've seen it million times, but I still enjoy watching it. And the next is Finding Nemo.
Ooh, Finding Nemo is one of the best out there for sure.
For sure. But yeah, I would like to do a Pixar episode in the future. Because
that would be really great to do, even like a ranking, because I feel like that's a very divisive category. Like with Marvel, people have like the best movies like picked. Like it's pretty agreeable. Like Iron Man, Winter Soldier, and like one of the Avengers movies are going to be in your top 3. But with Pixar, I feel like everyone's is different. It just depends on what you grew up with.
And I read a whole ass book about John Lasseter. And so I know like all the history of Pixar from like 1979 until about 2009. So I have a lot of information to share about John Lasseter and how Pixar came to be, and it's really interesting. Actually, it's really interesting.
It's just conveniently that knowledge ends right before the sexual misconduct allegations.
Yes. The book doesn't go into those allegations because the book was made before it was put out.
That's
before
what I
the
figured.
Allegations, and then after I read the book, my professor, it was the Disney course that I was taking last year. We got in class and he was like, so he's like, kind of a really problematic, epilogue to the book y'all read. He's like, John Lasseter was basically Me Too'd, and I was like, no, why? Jesus Christ.
It turns out no industry is safe from predators.
Literally, we can't have anything, like not one damn thing. It's insane, but I don't know.
Did you follow the Cinnamon Toast Crunch with Shrimp saga?
Yes.
On Twitter?
Oh my god, dude.
That guy got Me Too'd also, which I mean, when I use that verb, Me Too'd, a lot of conservatives say that and they mean it like can't believe cancel culture got these people.
Yeah.
But I want to clarify with John Lasseter and this guy, and in most cases of the Me Too movement, like it is very well deserved that these people got canceled and got their comeuppance. Really, there are very, very few and specific cases where the allegations like are just blatantly false. I mean, just the fact of the matter is people do not just like make up crazy bullshit about celebrities to like get turning a fan base against you, pretty much putting yourself into a position where you're going to get so much hate. Like that's not something that people do for attention. That's something people who have to become very brave do. And I think in John Lasseter's case, that had to be so scary, a very beloved children's like animator, like so many people grew up with his work. That has to be tough to come out against a guy like that.
Yeah.
And especially with Shrimp. I don't know about Shrimp's Cinnamon Toast Crunch guy, but I just thought that was crazy too, that, there's not even like a Twitter story that happens without like some form of cancellation. I mean, that happened with like Bean Dad this year too. I mean, like not only was the Bean Dad story so bad, but then they looked through his Twitter and he was saying the N-word and shit like that, and it's like, oh come on, dude, really?
Yeah,
really,
dude, that's insane. Like, yeah, ugh. Why do people have to be so shitty? And speaking of like the Me Too movement, I watched a really interesting video yesterday. We all make jokes about like Dan Schneider like being a predator, and then but nothing like super like concrete evidence has come out against Dan Schneider. But I watched. Do you ever watch the YouTube channel Blame It on Jorge?
No. But is this video like 20 minutes roughly?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw this. It popped up in my recommended, and I watched it, and it was like going into the history of Dan Schneider working at Nickelodeon and like previous like cases.
Yeah, like the
people he's worked with have been busted
yeah,
before,
yes,
and then put back to work essentially.
And there's that whole theory that guys, I'm gonna link this video in the description. If on the YouTube link, because y'all really need to go watch it. It's really interesting. And the guy who did this, his channel, he does a lot of like lost media, like videos and documentaries about really weird like internet conspiracies. Is really good at it. Does a lot of research, and they're really good. But this Dan Schneider video, there's like this whole website where this guy runs it, and he like basically reports on like which celebrities are about to be exposed next. Do you remember that part of the video, and how there's like this user called him with like 4 M's, and people were basically had a theory that it was Robert Downey Jr. on the site. That's
bizarre.
I know, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I'll link the video in the description. Y'all need to go give this a watch. It's super crazy. If you don't believe that Dan Schneider's a pedophile, you will after you watch this video. I guarantee you. Like, the evidence and the circumstances are just too I don't know. It's too weird, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, it's kind of a downer ending, you know, touching on predators, but unfortunately they're a big part of the film industry.
They are very big, sadly. Here, I'll end it on a good note. Mortal Kombat comes out in like a week, baby. Like
that's exciting.
April 13th or something like that. I'm excited for Mortal
gosh.
Kombat, dude. I'm so pumped.
That's gonna be. I hope it's gonna be really good. It'd be nice to have a win, especially in that franchise. It really deserves one. I saw someone on Twitter complaining that it's under 2 hours, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, it needs more time to develop these characters. This isn't like a monkey and a lizard fighting each other. They really need more time." And I'm like, you know, most movies aren't 4 hours long, and most movies can like effectively convey character arcs within a shorter runtime.
Literally.
It's like efficiency. Zack Snyder doesn't have efficiency. Like, Justice League is not the basis on which all movies should be made. Like, shut up.
Yeah, literally.
It pissed me off. Adam Wingard, the director of Godzilla vs. Kong, was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I have like a 5-hour cut out there in the world of Godzilla vs. Kong," and I cannot imagine wanting anyone to suffer through that. Like, I feel like eyeballs should be ripped out if that movie were to like be pushed in front of me.
Listen,
5 hours.
So I've heard there's like this new trend now that since Zack Snyder put out his thing, like there's like a newer trend that directors will be like, "Oh yeah, you know, I have a 12-hour cut of Clerks, like just laying around there." And like the Russo brothers said their original cut of Endgame was 6 fucking hours. What? Jesus. What? Dude, like, Hollywood, like, is the reason that Hollywood budgets are so freaking high is because they give them enough money to go out and shoot a fucking 8-hour film, and then they cut it down to 2 hours. Like, that's just insanity.
Yikes.
I don't know. I don't know if I could sit through a 6-hour cut of Endgame. I don't think that's necessary.
No, me either.
But then again,
it's fine as is.
I think it's fine as is. It's 3 hours. But then again, you know, I remember I was listening back to the podcast episode before the Snyder VeggieTales episode, and we did say, I said that the 4-hour cut, we said it sounded like torture, and that we would not be watching it, or that I would not be watching it. And then immediately came out, and I went over to your house and watched it in one sitting.
And I still stand by, like, the 4 hours went by really fast for Snyder Cut. That was a pretty entertaining 4 hours for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so I can't say anymore that I won't sit down and watch something, you know. There's like a 9-hour documentary called Showa about the Nazi camps, the death camps that I really want to watch.
Oh my god, yeah, that sounds fucking intense though.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's literally just the guy and his like small film crew going to, I think, Auschwitz or one of the death camps and just filming it and talking about it and like
God.
seeing the town around it and stuff. It's won a bunch of awards. It's like really important in the scope of film history, but it's 9 hours long and sounds tough to watch.
What's it called again?
It's called Shoah, Shoah.
Well, anyway, I think that's all the time we have today for 9-hour documentaries. But you will be excited to learn that this podcast is just going to go on for another 11 hours. It's going to be a lot of background noise. So, in fact, Casey, let's just leave this one running. You know,
okay.
Whatever people hear, they'll hear. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well,
see you around, dude.
Yep. See you, man. All right. See everybody later.
Oh, man, I've got a monster piss to take. This is going to be epic.